Hello, everybody, and welcome again to At the End of the Day. As I stated in the first episode, our views are on the show are those of the individual speaking and do not reflect England International as a whole. Please comment or message any questions or comments you have below on our Facebook. Message them to us, whatever. We want the show to be very interactive. It's about the members, so please support us by interacting with us. But please keep the comments appropriate as we are all brothers. And one thing I do want to show you all right now is the T-shirt we have that's about to come out, which is I'll show you at the end. So let's just get started. Right now, we're going to talk tonight about our word of the day, which Garrett has filming degrees for instruction, for initiating chapter relations, so chapters within their own state, communicating with each other, helping each other out, and also across state lines, and getting everyone involved. And so let's start off the show with Garrett and the word of the day.
All right, thank you, Derek. So, as you said, I have the word of the day, and I chose it to be community. We're going to be talking about a lot of different topics tonight, but for me, community is a very key point because some of you may know because if you come from a small town, like you're all a community, you're all very together. And with DMLA, even though we're all throughout the world and we may seem very far apart, it's important that at the end of the day that we come together and that we share that common sense of brotherhood, comradeship, and all the precepts that we hold. And I just hope that from all of us being in DMLA that we all believe that we are together as a family and that together through the good times and the bads that DMLA has faced, whether it's a jurisdiction or a state that may have a lot of members or one that may have a very few amount, that we should all come together as one community and we should all strive for the precepts that we were taught. And that's just all I have to really say right now for the word of the day. So, Derek, back to you.
Thank you, Garrett. So we want you guys to use the word that we have in your own chapter or a word that's similar, something that means more than just, like Garrett told me earlier, peanut butter and jelly or whatever your chapter does. It's not that hard to come up with a good, strong word, and we'll give you one every week. Now, I wanted to show you the shirt, which I can actually show you right now, which is right here. It's at the end of the day, and it's going to be on sale for $20. We want your feedback on it. If you want it to be a performance shirt, a V-neck, I know separately wants the V-neck. Whatever you want, tell us, and whatever gets the most collective feedback, and we'll choose that. Now, we're going to go into filming. Does anybody here have a state or state next to them who films the degree work? Anybody?
From what I can tell in my region, none of the states have ever done that or heard of it. Like, there's never even been talked to that because for us it was always it's very secret and very private. And if you want like good ritual and you want like a good degree put on, that you do it yourself, and like you get the feedback from other ones. Like we'll have people like chime in, like we'll have a ritual, like we'll have a degree practice, and then we'll get feedback from like everyone in the room, be like, oh, what did they do well, what did they do bad, or what did they need to improve on. But we've never talked about filming because if a chapter is in dire need of members and they do need degrees, you can give them the vow ceremony until that time when they can receive full degrees. But for myself, I don't think that they should be filmed as they're a very private matter. And one time at our leadership conference at the Pacific Coast, DMLA Leadership Conference, there was a picture that someone posted of the ceremonies that were about to begin. It wasn't during the middle of it, but like you could see people kneeling at the altar, and even though it didn't have anything at all of really any big importance or any secrets given out, it was still like it's still the idea that these are very sacred and very secret ceremonies between us, and that they should not be shared to the world. And with that, like even filming just for the idea of like passing it along and showing people like, oh, this is how ritual can be done, I still think we should not be telling people this is how you should be doing ritual. You do ritual your way, and we will and we'll help you the best way we know possible. So for me, filming a ritual, I wouldn't go about do it, but if someone does it and it works for them, hey, then maybe other people will catch on, and then I myself will maybe want to see like how it all works. But that's just my thoughts from Northern California.
Thank you, Garrett. We'll go right to David now that he just joined the call, who also needs to mute himself if he's not talking, because I don't know.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out how to do it. I'm on my phone.
But
sorry, guys.
What we talked about in the first episode, you talked about a cyber chapter and talking about actually filming degrees. And now, out of all of us here, we don't film degrees, but you do. Tell us what you guys do.
All right, so Tennessee, what we've recently done, we've recently videoed the DMLA degree. The purpose for this is to teach the guys and give them an instructional video for how to use it. And also, because we believe that the short form that we have right now in the Red Ritual doesn't give the guys a full impression of what's going on. We believe that if we show the video that we made of the DMLA degree, the guys get a better understanding what's going on. The purpose behind this is so that they understand what's going on. They further understand about the Order of DMLA. However, the young men are still required within 90 days to get the full form degree. That is, so I can go out with maybe 1 or 2 guys, perform the ceremonies at a chapter that's like 4 or 5 hours away where I want a chapter to be, because I don't have a chapter within those 4 or 5 hours to go. I can go with a couple state officers, get 2 or 3 guys interested in DMLA, get them to join, get a club in this area. Right now we use video a lot for the short forms. That's all we use it for. If we can perform a full form, that is what we do. We don't believe that this is a crutch that we're supposed to use, like, okay, so you didn't learn Master Inquisitor like you were supposed to. We're going to show the DMLA degree. We're still going to go through with the degree no matter what. I believe that this is a great tool we can use to better the Order of DMLA. I noticed Garrett said something about maybe it'll give away secrets, but honestly, our whole ritual is online where people can see. So we're really not giving away any real secrets that if someone wants, they can find the answer to already. We have 4 copies in Tennessee that people have, and only a chapter dad can have it or a district governor. They have to sign a release form saying they will only use it. There is no duplicates. If there's any copies made, we're going to charge them for it. If you lose the video, it's $100 to get another copy type thing. I was Jacques DMLA in it, and I don't even have a copy of the video. I had to get executive officer approval in order to get the video from a chapter dad or not. So even though I'm state master counselor, I have to go to the chapter dad in Memphis. I had to get the video. There's a form I have to sign saying that the video is in my possession at this time. If I lose it, I pay $100. However, once I turn it back over, it's back in the chapter dad's hand, who has already signed the contract also. So that helps eliminate the whole getting it out where everyone sees it. It's not going to be on YouTube or anything ever. It's only going to be on hard copies. We've eliminated all the editing, imagings, and stuff already, so no one can get a hold of those. So it's completely private now, where it's on 4 disc, and the only way to copy it is to go through the master copy that the executive officer has.
Okay. Okay. Now hearing from your point of view and everything like that, I definitely could see the usefulness of it. Like, coming from my standpoint, Northern California being one of the largest jurisdictions, like, we don't necessarily have that issue because, like, we're so abundant in membership and we're all over. But like, there are areas in Northern California that are like at least 3-4 hours away, and not a whole lot of people can reach them. And the divisional officers that we have in those areas, for those of you who do not know, in Northern California, we have the jurisdiction, and then we break it into 5 different divisions, and within it they have counselors and Sweetheart program as well. So with that being said, we would have one of our divisional officers go to the chapter and perform a vow ceremony for them until they can have degrees. And we normally have, normally the divisions will put on degrees at least once every quarter, or at least like Redwood Empire would do one in like May, then another one would do it in June, so on and so forth. So that way throughout the year they're in that 90-day period. So I could see it being a very like a strong program that could help, because like the ones that are 4 hours away, they're able to watch it. But just from a Northern California standpoint, it wouldn't necessarily be useful to us. And Like I personally enjoy it more when it's done like fully in person. But as you said, that didn't you say, David, that like once they watch it, they will see it again in person, like for the full thing, or no?
Yeah, DEMA International, as of now, it says in the Red Ritual that you have to perform the full form within 90 days, even when you do the short form. So the same philosophy goes with the DEMA degree video. We only use the DEMA degree video when we do the short form. So it goes hand in hand. It still follows all DEMA International bylaws stating that we have to do a 90 days still. So yeah, another like you said about for smaller jurisdictions, I think this would be perfect for the jurisdictions that are just now regrowing and restarting. I believe this would help them because it can be hard first learning the ritual in that area, and maybe you don't have the ritual advisors, anyone in that area to help teach you how to do it. So this would be a great instrument to teach them one method. They can change it up however they want in their state once they learn it. But this is a good idea, like when you start a chapter and they're new in the area, they're like, well, all right, so they did it this way. I think this gives us a good idea on the floor work on how you should do it, but we can always advance and change it. Let's say jurisdiction A they're restarting. They have 20 guys on the books. This would be a great way for them to start getting the guys to start learning it, and they could do the short forms until they're ready to do the full form.
I'm going to argue with you a bit on one comment you made in there. I mean, you know me, I would argue with every single comment, but you said that you might not have a ritual advisor there to help teach the chapter. Now, in my opinion, like my chapter doesn't have a ritual advisor, but if you have one advisor, if he's an advisor, he should be able to teach the ritual to the chapter. I mean, we don't have that many advisors. We don't have that many guys in my chapter anymore. But if we need the support from other chapters, we just have to ask them and they'll come. And Northern Virginia, we're pretty close. But for chapters that are far away, even if they have 1 or 2 or 3 advisors, they can handle learning the parts. And though they don't have enough to maybe open, or they don't have enough to put on a degree by themselves, but the whole comradeship and brotherhood part of DMLA should extend outside of the chapter. And with Virginia, it even extends to North Carolina a lot. Those guys, they're small. They only have like, what, 40 guys or something, maybe 50 guys. It's really small in North Carolina. But their top 2 guys, Brother Willard and Brother Roman, they come up to Virginia all the time to support us. And I know my chapter is trying to plan something to go down there, but there are other chapters like Kempsville and down south that go and help them. And it's still like 6 hours away to get to a chapter, but they'll do it because comradeship. So, Seth, what do you have to say about
it? Okay, so the way I've always broken down this controversial subject is degrees are singularly a marketing point. So we confer ceremonies so that way we can initiate people to attract them. That is the single and primary purpose of why degrees exist. Yes, we convey the individual aspects of camaraderie, the 7 cardinal virtues, the secret handshakes, why our purposes kind of intermix with everyday lives of teenagers and 12 to 21-year-olds. That's an important aspect. We also have to realize that when we convert our single most attractive thing to a new candidate and convert it into a video, it's kind of like watching, Bill Nye the Science Guy or one of those like really cheesy biology videos in like AP Bio. You don't learn anything because half the time I usually slept through those videos. I much more learned with a hands-on type of approach, which I believe is exactly what a degree conferral is, a hands-on approach on being able to identify with purposes, being able to shake the master counselor's hand. And then, David, you talk about a caveat of 90 days. You have that one moment to impress those candidates. You have that one moment, and that's exactly why these degrees exist. They're supposed to impress upon you a very specific type of a feeling of desire in order to join. And when you say, all right, now in 90 days I'm going to give you the real thing, this is just a taste, you've already lost them. You know, they're not going to come back in 90 days because they're probably not really that interested after just watching the video, because why would I want to come back and watch the same thing that I just saw again? So I am particularly against video recordings of, you know, degrees, because from a marketing standpoint, it is not productive as far as advertising to their parents as well as the candidate. Another point, like, we keep arguing back and forth about logistics. You know, we talk about, you know, whether people are going to visit or who has possession of the tape, or, you know, how to divide it up. If you've got a struggling jurisdiction, and this is my suggestion, I would say as an executive officer or as a leader, get the advisors. Get some of these senior DMLAs that are really gunning to like get active and like feel the experience that they had back in the 1950s. I can tell you what, one of the most impressive DMLA degrees that I ever saw was the Executive Secretary of Maryland, Carl Michael, the Executive Officer, Bill Eppig, Lee Linder, Chapter Advisor of Catonsville, as inquisitors, and then everybody else, the younger crowd, were DMLAs, or the guards were DMLAs, and they were able to kind of intermingle that older generation that was really interested in that theatrical aspect, as well as the newer generation who didn't exactly have that as its niche, but it became its niche because they saw the passion, they saw the interest, they saw the desire. So if we can somehow, and this is more specifically talking to struggling jurisdictions, your point, David, that if we take struggling jurisdictions and take the advisors that are willing to get it started again, we can have a degree team. There is a possibility about having a degree team. Yeah, it may not be all DMLAs, but there's an opportunity.
Now, David, going back to you, instruction. How do you use the film for instruction? So I know a big argument about it for proponents of filming degree work is that it provides a way to teach kids how to do their part. Do you guys use it that way? If so, how?
Yeah, it's we use it for that. You know, the Floorwork simulator DMLA International came out with a couple of years ago. It's pretty much along the same lines. We use that. The guys will sit here, they'll watch it. We'll pause at different areas. They'll ask about, let's say, where's the emphasis on this point? Exactly where are the hot points where there needs to be high interaction? Because, you know, there's points where Jacques DMLA is calm and everything, and there's points where he's really mad. And just reading the ritual, you really can't understand that there's times where you need to get up and you've got to move and you got to do stuff. I mean, it gives the guys an idea of how to work the floor. We did this all on a stage, so it still looks like a stage setting, so they can see how it would be on a stage. However, they also get the feel of the video. And I understand what Seth was saying about you're taking away from the interaction, and we believe that's a big problem. So we've put in, you still do the order, someone will still read the order unless you have someone that knows it there. We still do everything else in short form. I go up, I obligate them, I shake their hand, I thank them for joining. I tell them that this, there's a part or paragraph we have before we show the video explaining how this is not how normally it is performed. However, for further instruction, this is what we're going to show them so that they can understand more fully the purpose of DMLA. Because, I mean, just someone standing up there during the short form after you obligate them, you sit. I've had it where I've had guys sit here and explain what happens in DMLA degree, and maybe the idea doesn't get across to them as much. So what you do is you show them the video so they can understand more what happened to DMLA, and you can. I mean, it's still nowhere near as good as the actual stage effect and being able to watch it, but I mean, it can still impress upon their minds some of the ideas of what we do, and that is one reason we use it, and it helps me be able to go with two guys, go initiate a guy and do a short form 3-4 hours away from my closest chapter, or sometimes in one of my areas I have to go 5 hours away before I'm even near one of my chapters, and sometimes it can be hard. Tennessee is, we hit that point where I'm the last, let's say, I'm the only 20-year-old left So no, I'm 21. So I'm the only one. There's a huge age gap. The next guy is like 16, 17. So these guys are all really just coming to the point where they're starting to become prominent ritualists and starting to learn the parts. So that's our big problem is now we're having to reflood and refill the parts. So this helps me go with two guys that know maybe senior counselor, senior deacon, and I do the master counselor. I go and I do that and I show them the video. And then when I have my state events, we do it like we have a big state event every quarter, but we generally have smaller area ones. Like we have 3 districts, and the districts hold events also. And so that's when we get all our teams together is at these big events. So that's
Now,
when I do my
I have a question for that. Well, for me, the first time I'd ever actually seen the ritual done properly and to its best extent was when I went to Keyman up in Pennsylvania. And those guys, we went over about 4 or 5 times a night, a couple nights in a row, so that we can perform it to the best of our abilities. And these are state officers, and also all the members did their own in their own type of chapter. And I'd never seen it done so well, and I'd also never seen so many guys take it so, like do it so meaningfully and take so much pride in their work. And the advisors, though Dad Schaefer is an amazing ritual advisor, he wasn't the one who's saying, you guys need to do it again. He was, but the members who were doing it were like, let's do it again, we can do better. And that was really impressive to me. So I brought that back to Virginia in a way. We have RDI, where we get together in the northern region and our other regions, and the chapters find a location, and they do just one section of the work. So just the initiatory opening, or just the installation ceremony, or whatever. Just we pick one portion of it, and we go through it a couple times in a row, and we do it like a lodge school, where you just have somebody who's directing it, directing the floor work, and somebody who's directing the ritual, to make sure that they're doing it well. We leave it up to interpretation as well. And so I'm going to go to Garrett, and this is the last point we'll talk about the films before we move on to interpretation. But you're a theatrical person. So what do you think about interpretations of the work, doing it differently?
What do you mean by doing it differently? Like
everybody performs Jacques de Molay differently. Everybody like takes their own spin on the ritual.
Okay. I believe that the ritual is very straightforward with how it is, but it's not like concrete. It's not like this is the law you must follow. Like there are ways of like doing it yourself. Like for me, I've seen some beautiful degrees. I've seen some not beautiful degrees. But for me, I would have to say that if you were to go about filming them, I'd say you show them like the film of like probably the best degrees you can, and be like, this is an idea of what you can do. Not saying you have to do it like this, but here's an idea. And because with me, like we're all brothers here, so I'm just gonna go about saying it like in the de Molay degree, where the Inquisitors are getting at Jacques de Molay, I once grabbed a pail of water and threw it in Jacques' face, just because I could do that. It's not in the ritual. There's nothing saying I can't do it. I just did it for myself. And I think if you can improvise a little bit without straying from the meaning of it and you still get the point across, then it's okay. Because some things that are improv tend to go a lot better than things that aren't. Like if you can add a little more anger, a little more emotion in some way, like use like your body or like things around you more, and you can make it a more powerful meaning for the guys to remember, hey, then that's what you got to do. When I was initiated, Jacques almost fell off the stage. But like you see Guy pull him back in, because there's a guy, his name was Guy back then, for those of you who don't know, and they pulled him back in. I was just like, man, I didn't know that actually happened then. I was just like that caught my attention. So if you can improvise and make it a little special, but still keep to the meaning of the work and everything, then by all means have at it.
Now, for the last remarks, actually, I'm going to ask Sep a question. I had an advisor message me during the show right now and reference the open first page of the book. And it says, in one sentence, no copies are to be made therefrom. Does that mean just written or visual as well? What do you think?
Well, again, I've already stated that I have a negative opinion know, video recording just because from a marketing standpoint.
From a law standpoint, what do you think?
From a bylaw standpoint,
Yeah.
I think that's pretty clear. And you know, again, we could refer to Masonry, you know, about talking about conveying secrets. You cannot be written, spoken, you know, there's a whole catechism on it, you know, and I think that kind of heavily applies to the circumstance. You know, you cannot duplicate the ritual in any other manner other than its print form provided by DI. It's part of the bylaws. Now, if jurisdictions decide to do it, obviously that's up to the jurisdiction, and that goes back on our previous point from our first episode saying how we are an ununited international organization and we need to be able to come together and unite in some form. So that's all, you know, an issue that we talked about an episode ago. But,
Yeah.
you know, yes, I do not believe that creating another form of media, even though it's not print, is acceptable because it is directly breaking the bylaws of DMLA International as well as the first rule on the front page of the ritual.
Now, you did a pretty good segue there into chapter relations. Like I was saying with the RDI, is that we get the chapters together in Northern Virginia, and we teach the ritual to each other, and it's the members running it. We have the advisors on the sidelines just going along with the book, seeing if we mess up any specific line that somebody else doesn't catch, or they'll stop us and say, "You're doing this part right now. What does it mean? Like, why are you doing it? Why are you saying what you're saying?" And it's really helped Northern Virginia. We have an initiation coming up. Our RDI last month, it's once a month, was practicing for the initiation. So hopefully it helps out. But we have the chapters come together. So going into chapter relations, what do you do? What does Maryland do? It's a small state, but the membership, tell us about the number first before.
It's hard because Maryland is more long than it is kind of condensed. So at one end you got Cumberland, which is at the very, very tip. Like if Maryland shaped as a gun, no mean to offend any Democrats. Shaped as a gun, you know, if you go all the way to the, you know, the barrel, the end of the barrel is where Cumberland is, and then you come back and then you hit Frederick, which is kind of like right where the top of the trigger is, and then you've got somewhere in the hilt is where Catonsville, SJP, Savage, Houston, Salisbury, and then there's Bowie. And now we just started a new one in Westminster. Now, usually we have two events that's directly state-oriented. It's Congress, which is our like learning leadership center, and then Conclave, which is our elections for State Master Counselor, you know, and installation and banquet. And it's just basically a weekend of fun, doing a bunch of stuff, just to be able to get together and spend time as a jurisdiction. Those are two main events in order to like promote chapter relations. However, one of the things, and I feel poor speaking about this, but we do have an issue in Maryland, I believe, with international relations. During my term, obviously, you know, I had more exposure, you know, to be able to meet people like David, in order to meet people like you, Derek, and, you know, Garrett. You know, we became friends like back in November. I mean, I just had the opportunity in order to reach out, meet more state master counselors, visit up in New Jersey, and that can also be attributed financially. So you have to take a look, how big is my jurisdiction? How can my chapters accumulate resources so they can visit other chapters and be able to afford to have an international relation? And also, more importantly, how can interjurisdictional chapters have relations with each other? Now, my approach as far as interjurisdictional relations was allow the state master counselor, being me, to be the mediator. So when we would go and visit, I would specifically talk about opportunities. Here's an opportunity that you could take based on your interests and how you can apply it to other chapters, because this is what they're interested in, because they told me when I went and visit them. So then I give them the phone number of the master counselor of that chapter, and then they facilitate it themselves. So it's no longer my job. And then I can worry about more jurisdictional matters, like being able to make sure that, we have promotional advertisement and, the money that we got in donation for Grand Lodge is going towards the right things, and I'm presenting well at, semi-annual, so that way, they know that we're working hard in order to promote, and it's a little more political. But the things that chapters need to be able to do in order to be successful is to be self-sufficient. They need to be able to make money. They need to function as a business. They need to be able to make money. They need to be able to have promotional events that's going to be able to supply them with members. They need to have turnout, so the content needs to be entertaining. And then you also need to make sure it goes off well.
Yeah.
Once you have that concoction of things, you can have a functioning chapter, you can have interjurisdictional activity, and that'll promote chapter relations internationally as well as jurisdictionally.
Now, going back to David, you've talked about how you have trouble because it's such a large state and it's rural and there aren't that many chapters and that many members. What do your chapters do? Not the trouble that they have, but what do they do to get from one chapter to another to help each other?
So what we do a lot is we most of our events and stuff for these chapters that are really involved with one another is at these state or district events we have. Probably because I'd say my longest chapter to chapter would be for them to hit each other would be about 3 hours. But my closest one is only like 45 minutes to an hour drive. The ones I had the most interaction between is obviously the 45 minutes. I'm up there a lot with them, hanging out. My home chapter is pretty much down the road. I hit I-65 and I hit Murfreesboro and I'm there. They interact a lot. A lot of the things they do together though deals with the shrine. Nashville is one of the most prominent shrines in Tennessee, and there's always some activity going on. So they're always there helping out at Almena. So there's really no real big chapter relations between each other unless there's events or some big fundraiser or some big dinner going on, which I believe is a big problem we need. But Tennessee's hit the point where we have about 200 members on roll, I'll say, but I probably only have about 30 to 40 active DMLAs at a time, and the most I'll probably see at an event maybe about 50 to 60, and that's generally only at the very big state events. And we have 3 major big state events that I know all the guys come to, and that would be obviously our Sweethearts Banquet, because what DMLA doesn't love to dance. Our Tennessee DMLA University, it's like our version of Keyman. It's Tennessee's own personal one, and that's where we do a lot of our ritual training and stuff and teach the guys. And that's like our big brotherhood weekend where the guys hang out. We go canoeing, tip canoes, and then we have our conclave where we elect our officers. We pass new bylaws for the state. We do all our big sports and everything. But this year we instated a new event, and it's coming up next month, and it's going to be our sports weekend. And the guys are going to hang out. We're going to do amateur sports because none of us play professionally, obviously. And we're going to hang out, have a good time. And then that night we're going to go probably to the Sounds game. We haven't decided yet. And we're going to go watch a baseball team play. They're not like Yankees and stuff. Yeah, but they're like, I guess what you call them, AAAs or whatever.
Yeah, I don't watch baseball. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's what we do. So we don't really have so much the chapter relations as much as state relation because of how few guys I have. I have to base it all off of the state events, really, and the district events. Tennessee's divided in 3 districts, East, Middle, and West, and so I have a district governor for each of those areas, and every couple months he tries throwing some semi-big event to get all the chapters in that district to meet and have something go on. A lot of times they'll do like a short form or they'll do a full form if they have enough guys there. But luckily what happens is since state officers are all divided out among the different districts, we have the state master counselor comes from this district. He brings his whole home chapter up to this middle district event. And my state junior, let's say he's all the way up in Knoxville, he brings a bunch of guys down to Middle Tennessee. So it's generally you have 1 or 2 chapters coming from each district to come help out at that district's events.
Are you advertising the DMLA quarter zip? I see you wearing it.
Yeah, so I'm at Grand Chapter right now. I just did my speech last night, but I'm at a water park, so obviously I'm going to go hang out at the water park. So I've been hanging out all day, and so I realized I was going to be underdressed for this call, so I thought I would sport my DMLA International polo, maybe get some people to buy some from the DMLA Moore store. They're $40. You know you want one.
Okay, so now you talked about what your chapter does because what your state does because your chapters don't do that much. Virginia, we have 4 quarterlies. We have conclave or convention, depending on what state you're from. We have Brotherhood Weekend, which is similar. We do ritual competitions at Brotherhood and Luray. And Luray is our summer one, where we go in the caverns. If you've ever been to Luray Caverns, we go down into the caverns after they close. We're the only ones who they allow to do this. We go all the way down to the bottom to the piano room, the organ room, and we do the DMLA degree in the cave. It's really awesome, and if you haven't seen it, you got to come see it. But before that, we do some of our ritual competitions. We do our ritual competitions there and at Brotherhood. Sports competitions at Conclave, along with a few other. And then in fall, we have Fall Fest, where it's up to the State Master Counselor to do whatever he wants. So we went to an adventure park / campsite this past year that was no ritual, no structure other than team building exercises, which was a great thing to get the chapter guys combined with each other from throughout the state. On the chapter level, like you said, going to a sports game, Ashburn chapter and Occoquan chapter, which is the chapter I'm a member of, are going to a DC United game on May 30th, day before my birthday, and we're going to get half-price tickets because we have group rates. We're going to have a tent set up among all their food trucks advertising DMLA. So we will have a tent. They've already said that we can do it. Have a tent set up and advertise DMLA to thousands of people. And then we might put up a message on the scoreboard, and we, as long as nobody else is already doing it, we're going to try and take the American flag out there for the Pledge of Allegiance on the field at the beginning of the game, which is awesome. And this is just 2 chapters that wanted to do something together, and it exploded. So it's really important to get chapters working together. Now, going to Garrett, since you haven't talked in a bit, California, we didn't really introduce him. He's from Northern California.
Yep.
And tell us your positions or past positions. And tell us what chapters do.
Okay. Northern California, we have been gifted with a lot of membership. We are, I believe, in the top 5 states in with the most members. It's us, SoCal, and then I believe Missouri and a few others. But for us, what we do is each year we have our annual convention, but where the entire jurisdiction comes together from all places, and we do that. When I was planning mine, I kept the focus that I want to entertain everyone. I want everyone to, rather than going there and being oh, degrees and stuff like this, I wanted to entertain them so that way they can go back to their friends and be hey, I had a great time at this event, come check out my group, blah, blah, blah. But other than that, the 5 divisions that we would have, each one of them would have their own conclave, whether one is at a daytime at the water park, one's a camp out, one's going to a water park and then we're having a dance, another one was doing degrees, so on and so forth. And I went to a few of them, and each one was very different, and it brought different people there. The one that went to the water park during the day, that hit the southernmost part of my jurisdiction and brought around 50 to 60 people, and it was active DMLAs, prospects, Joe Beach Rainbows, etc., etc. And then the one that was a camp out, it brought people that I had never met before, and I've been in for about 7 years or so, and I met people. I was who are you? Oh, you haven't been around. Welcome back and stuff like that. So we have a lot. The divisions handle it because each division handles about 7 chapters, and works about bringing them all together. For just chapter one-on-one talking, basically it's the more you travel, the more friends you know, the better you'll be. Before I joined, there was what's called the sister chapter program, where each chapter in the jurisdiction was paired with another one, and it was its sister chapter. Now that's been long gone. It was gone before I even joined, probably about 3 or 4 years before I joined. But
your brother chapter?
no, we call it the sister chapter just for the heck of it. It's more fun for us. But still to this day, Stockton, which is my home chapter, and Roseville chapter, which is the strongest chapter in Northern California, as they have they've got a full line, they've got full, like, all the chairs are filled, and a lot of their members like sit on the sidelines. Like, that's how many people they have. Like the only position that is not always held by a boy or one of the brothers is probably scribe, because they have an advisor do it, just because like you don't trust a 14-year-old with that essentially. But they've been transferring it to where the past master counselor does that. But between my chapter and that one, they would have joint events where my chapter is going to have an installation. Roseville will come down and then give a gift of soda as oh, let's share this soda together, and that's how we got close. And so we chat, like, we're not going to be all like, oh, buddy, like, oh, let's go hang out at the mall next week because we live far away, we're 45 minutes away. But we'd still, like, we know that person, we're going to go see them. And so we were creating connections, and then it just, like, passes on. So, like, now there are chapters that are like Lemoore and Fresno that are far away from everything else, but they're close together, so they like form like little packs. And so that's just how the whole jurisdiction comes together. We use the big events to pull everyone, and then the divisions use their smaller events to get them all together. So it's just a lot of branching out to pull them all together in the end. But I rambled for a little bit, but that's all I have.
And you can tell when I said you're theatrical, those hands are all over the place. No, I really like that thing, though it doesn't really happen anymore, the whole sister-brother chapter thing. It would be really cool, in my opinion, if we did what I know some lodges around here do, which is take another chapter in another state and go visit them, and then they come and visit you. And I know, Seth, you are always in New Jersey or with Jordan, who we lost a little earlier because he has some issues connecting. Do you have any thoughts about that, or how it could work, how you can have it? Because I know finances can be an issue. Like you said earlier, DMLA chapters need to act like a business and need to make money. Because without money, they can't do things like this. Because there's a cost to it. My chapter, we DJ events, and we make money off that. We help support the Masons. They give us donations. We have fundraisers for dinners. They give us donations. But mainly from DJing, that's how we get our money. So we can go. My chapter has about $6,000 in our account, a little less now that we bought some new equipment. So we can make that trip. But other chapters in our state have like $200. How should they do something? How should they do something to go to another state and even in their own state visit a chapter?
Well, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. You have to find a source. And so it sounds like your source directly is either Masonic related, and that's your piggy bank that you can kind of cater off of, which is what most people do. You know, Masonic is an easy source. I mean, if you take DMLA International as a whole, we were created by the idea of the 30th. David, is it the 30th or the 29th? The 30th. Okay, thank you, David. It was created off of the 30th degree in the southern jurisdiction, Scottish Rite, as well as the northern, I guess. But it was created off of the 30th degree. So our primary purpose in our creation was we are a youth-sponsored Masonic organization. So if we go upon, or if we, I don't want to say, draw upon, but if we draw upon our primary support, that's where we're going to get the most money. But in order for us to branch out as public relations is concerned, you're doing the right thing. DJing is a perfect opportunity. I mean, what kind of kid, sees a bunch of guys their age and says, wow, I want to go out and DJ. I want to make money. I want to be able to do things. And, I don't know what you do with your money. But, again, as we talked about, in a previous episode, I know kids and young men in Frederick chapter that want to go to, like, raves or Coachella or stuff like that, and they can be able to pay their own ticket by just doing exactly the kind of stuff that you're doing. There's not an exact formula, and I don't think there should be an exact formula. And this could be, presented as me being around the bush, but it's different for every person. For every chapter, for every opportunity, for every situation, it's totally different. For your chapter, DJing works. In Cumberland, where you're literally on a mountainside, it is not going to work for Maryland. Now, personally, again, I had a lot of support in my jurisdictions in order to travel internationally, so that way we could make Masonic relations. I had, a good background in sales, so I was very good at selling in order to get money and donations. It was just an easy thing. But what we need to be able to do is to be able to convince these young men that when they join DMLA, they're getting something out of it. So here's the set things they're getting out of it: leadership, public speaking. We should create a foundation, build upon that, and then once we have these set skills, put it out in the world. Okay, whatever they choose to do, make money off of it, build money for their chapter, go do things. If they want to travel internationally, that's a perfect opportunity to do it, especially because they can share their talents with other chapters and other jurisdictions. But sometimes it's just, again, it's not as simple, cut and dry. This is what is going to happen with this jurisdiction, this is what's going to happen with this chapter, this is what's going to happen with this. So my suggestion is to be able to build upon your area. Look at your area, look at your demographic, look at what you have to offer, look at where you can make money. If you're in a place with a lot of rich people and cars, and you are a beautiful Masonic building in that area, then you should probably set up a car wash. Charge a $10 donation. I'm pretty sure that's nothing compared to the auto spa down the street.
Yeah.
If you're in the slums of Dundalk, go to a local park, buy some balls, and just create a kickboxing or kickball, not kickboxing, Jesus. A kickball tournament or a baseball tournament, and just see if a bunch of guys will get together and play, and you can charge like $2 a game. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know what works for your area, but it's just being able to understand, again, your demographic, function as a business, be able to be individual. And
only you would call it an auto spa. Just gotta say that.
Well, there's one in Cockeysville. If anybody knows where that is, there's one in Cockeysville, and it's like $23 for like a wax, window wash, rain.
They massage it too?
What?
Do they massage your car too?
No, but they gotta treat the bends nice.
Okay. Now I had an advisor again message me about making the state functions accessible to the people, like communication-wise. In Virginia, I put together something called, well, we don't really have a name for it, but it's a state roster of all the members and the parts they know. It's on Excel. It's accessible on Google, so the chapters can go in and see who maybe they don't have a first preceptor or a junior counselor for an upcoming degree, and so they can look at the roster and they can go to any local chapter and see who in that chapter knows the part that they need, and then they can contact them so they can get them out there to help that chapter. So it kind of gets the chapters working together. And we have regional officers who are in charge of it. It's still working on taking off, but it's definitely going to help, and it's helped me. I can put together, and I have multiple times, put together an initiation in 5 minutes by having just mass texting everybody, hey, can you make this date and this time? And if they reply yes, I just organize them based on who knows what. And it's really simple. As far as state events go, to be honest, my year, I had an idea of what I wanted to do. I talked about events I wanted to do. Did I do them all? No. Did I do them all well? But I had an idea of what I wanted to do, and I put out the information as early as I could. I didn't have a term plan going through it, which I know is frowned upon by a lot of people, that you have the plan out the entire year in advance or term before of what you're going to do and when. But mine was a little more whatever worked, because there's so many things you have to plan it around. Now, David, if you can hear me, I don't know because I don't see your face right now. Your state, you guys have that spread like we do in Virginia. how do you make the state events or chapter-to-chapter events accessible to the regular member? Like, how do they know about it, and how can they get involved really easily? Or if they have a question, who do they go to?
Well, generally, all the questions are directed to me. Tennessee DMLA, we have our newsletter. Dad Whitaker, our executive officer, he does a massive news blast. He has everybody's emails. Anytime someone's wanting to get involved, they'll give us one of their emails and stuff. Also have different group me's. We all have different Facebook pages. We have a private DMLA Facebook page as long as our public one, and we post our public on our public one also, so we can hopefully get some people to come. I know one of my state marshal, he's one of the biggest advocates of getting information out. He, not only after I created group me's and stuff for my state officers and different people within the state, and then for everyone within the state, he went and turned and he made a multimedia group me for the other guys also of my home chapter. So, I mean, I have a bunch of these go-getters, luckily, that are able to help me get the information out. And we have such a great Masonic fraternity here in Tennessee that the Grand Lodge, they get our news blast. And a lot of times they'll sit here and they'll send it out. And then you have your district chairman and all these other people within these areas. They sit here and they'll sit here and forward the information out within their district newsletters. Like I had a big Wounded Warrior dinner, which is my philanthropy this year as state mayor's counselor in Memphis. And it went through, everyone news blasted it, and then the Grand Lodge blasted it. And then our District 1 chairman, he turned around, he did a news blast about it to get Masons involved in the area. And that if it weren't from the Masonic fraternity in Tennessee, I don't know how strong we'd be, because we have such a great tie with them.
This advisor that messaged me, I don't know if this is what she was trying to say, but I assume it is. If it's not, it's a great idea. That if the state has a directory or something similar where a master counselor who's going into office right before his installation can put up his term plan if he has one, so that the other people around the state can see what that person's going to do, and they can plan their stuff accordingly, like a big calendar, but more of a directory, which I thought was a great idea. An idea I had, that we talk about this DMLA app, and what it would have. A major thing that people are talking about is the ritual, but we need to focus on other features that will make it worthwhile. And one thing I thought about was if there was a location function, so that, say I go to New York City, and or to Baltimore, or to Nashville, I can see, based on a radius of, say, 50 miles or whatever I set it to, events that are going on in that location. So so a chapter, or a Tyrian chapter, Jordan Selby's a member of. If I'm in that area, if I'm within 50 miles, it says, hey, Tyrian chapter is having this event today, come out and support them. It'll just notify you on your phone that this is happening in the area, so you can go visit. I know a lot of kids our age are traveling around with their friends, and if they show up to a meeting in another state with their friend, and they introduce them to the DMLA that way and say, hey, no matter where I go, I have a brother here. That would be really cool, in my opinion. Gary, do you have any thoughts about that? Or any ideas?
Towards
You were listening.
No, I was. It's just like it's a lot. Can you because like there were a lot of thoughts thrown out there. Like with Northern California communicating with everyone, we use our website a lot, and through our office and our advisor, Mom Gail Hatcher, and we'll have our calendar. Like I don't know if most jurisdictions have like a jurisdiction-wide calendar, but like our jurisdictional programs, they go on there when we show what our new our programs are going to be for the year. We'll have like our like chapter of the year program, so on and so forth. We'll have our events, and then each chapter is expected on their own to show their stuff as well, so that everyone knows. And then we also produce a weekly not a weekly, but like a monthly like newsletter of sorts that goes out to everyone announcing what happened last month and what's going to be upcoming, and then the divisions in their part produce their own stuff to get it out to everyone. So all I can really say is that for chapters and for the smaller jurisdictions about communicating, I'd say since you guys are so small, you guys really have to just talk to each other one-on-one more rather than relying on like mass media like Facebook and Instagram and all the other social media, not Snapchat because it's not meant for that. But like if you can use Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that to get information out, I would say go about doing that because you're reaching a wider audience. And then if you individually can call that 12-year-old guy Johnny, be like, hey Johnny, we have an event coming up this Saturday for Clarksville chapter. I don't know, Clarksville chapter, and we're doing a laser tag event. We'd really love it if you could be there. But if not, we're going to be having an event next week, and it's going to be late, and it's going to be a video game tournament. We'd really love it if you can come then. Can we count you in for that one? Like, rather than just assuming people are going to find out, you have to actually like put out the effort and try and do everything you can. You really have to become, as Sep was saying, turn it into a business, but rather from the standpoint of trying to make money for yourself, you're trying to sell the DMLA brand to that new kids so that you retain them. And I believe that was a comment. I believe that was a topic in episode 1, which I was unable to be here for. But it's all about marketing, talking, and basically you got to sell yourself and sell the DMLA brand to pull everyone back in. Like that's essentially what it comes down to. People know I work for Disney, and people know Disney because Disney touches you individually. So in DMLA, we have to touch everyone individually if we want them to come and be a part of what we have to offer. And that's all I'm going to say.
Youth protection much?
Youth
Brother Panzer, we're going to do our, at the end of the day, last words. So, Brother Panzer, at the end of the day, do you have any final comments to make?
Oh my God, Garrett. Everybody? Okay. All right, so referring back to you, you weren't necessarily just talking about communication, Derek. You were talking about being able to get people to show up to events.
Mm-hmm.
So currently I'm texting my Deputy State Master Counselor. When I was State Master Counselor, his name is Cameron Newman. He's actually currently going in as State Master Counselor this conclave in July. I'm very, very proud of him. He was one of the most organized people I've ever met.
Great guy.
He's amazing. And that is a question that I have not been able to answer. But the answer is very simple. You cannot simply just get people to show up to events. You have to either have two things that you only have two things that you can control. The incentive in order to get people to show up and the event itself. If the content is not good enough, people will not show up to the event. So for instance, if you decide to go to a relatively remote lodge, not near anything, and you want to have a game night where basically you try to balance an egg on a spoon and you carry it around the building and you play a bunch of card games, that's not an incentive for people to join up. If you host and find sponsors to host a huge trip to Hershey Park, people are going to show up to that. Sorry, for those of you who do not know what Hershey Park is, it basically is the big chocolate factory that's in Pennsylvania. And it's an amusement park. So you have to be able to break it down like that. Kickball, not everybody's going to travel across the state for kickball. But it's also your job to make sure it's in a location to get as many people as possible. And also to make kickball as entertaining as possible. If you have an opportunity to spend a little bit of more money where people can play dodgeball and they're inside of those giant spheres where they're literally inside of it and they run and they jump and bash into each other and they roll all over the place, like I'm sure people are going to feel an incentive in order to be able to show up to that. So again, it goes back to what I said in episode 1 about marketing, content. It's all about content. All about being able to create things that are interesting, unique, fun, entertaining, and also being able to convey that what you're doing is worth their while.
Yeah. David, do you have any final words at the end of the show? No? Okay.
At the end of the day, yeah, I do have something final to say. At the end of the day, I mean, we sit here and discuss about whether or not the video is a good idea, or whether or not it goes against the bylaws, or whether or not it's a great marketing tool. No matter what we decide, as long as it's for the better of the fraternity, even though Tennessee does the video, if DMLA International decides not the best idea, I mean, I believe we should go with whatever we believe is best for the fraternity as a whole. I mean, it comes back to branding. We have to come up with a single brand. We have to make sure we're all united on all fronts, because our problem is DMLA we're DMLA International. We're not DMLA United. Our problem is we have so many jurisdictions that do their own things, and maybe we need to start coming back home and realizing maybe we need to start being more involved with each other, and that's really all I had to say.
Are you trying to start a revolution?
No, I wouldn't say revolution. I would say we just need to be more engaged, more active, and we need to be. Our problem is, until I became an international officer, I really didn't know much about other states. I mean, I just knew about Tennessee, and the only thing that ever mattered to me was Tennessee DMLA. And then I became an international officer, and I started noticing, I need to become more involved with Georgia DMLA. I need to become more involved with North Carolina DMLA. And out of all the DMLAs I become involved and hung out with and got to know, I'm close to my guys, but I haven't become as close to any of them as I become as close to Andrew Williard. I mean, he's like the little brother I've never had. I mean, and we've really got to start expanding. We've got to start realizing that even though everyone in Tennessee is my brother, I've really got to hit the point where my actions affect New Jersey. I mean, if one of my guys moves up to New Jersey, I mean, now he's involved in that area. He's helping better fraternity in another area. We need to realize that our actions do not only dictate and affect our own jurisdiction, but everything we do within our jurisdiction somehow, one way or another, will eventually affect another jurisdiction. And so we need to become a united DMLA International again.
That's a great point. A little opposite of that was Lewis Roman, Deputy State Master Counselor of North Carolina, was a member in New Jersey. He moved and became Deputy State in that state, which was really impressive, and it just shows that leadership in New Jersey that moved him over there really helped him, and it would be great for him to get his guys in that state to go back and visit his home chapter and stuff. And Garrett, do you have any final words at the end of the day?
Of course I do. I've been rambling all night. I got one final note. Going off of what David was saying, if you can do anything to help the order, to help your fellow brothers, I say go about doing it. As long as you don't do anything that can get you in trouble, your friends in trouble, or make DMLA look bad in any way, shape, or form, because we all want to have integrity for what we are a part of. But for me, I just have to say have fun, communicate a lot. If something's working for your jurisdiction, your chapter, for your boys, go about doing it and maybe pass it along and see if it'll work for someone else. The worst that can happen is, hey, maybe it didn't turn out, but know what? There's always room for improvement. Nothing's ever like a final no. There's always ways to improve yourself. Even if you think you're like at the top of your game, there's always ways to improve. Just like membership, the way about going about membership is not perfect. There's always better ways to go about it. And so with that being said, keep trying new ideas, reach out to your friends, to other friends, and at the end of the day, have fun and show people why you love DMLA, and in turn, they will join and they'll learn about why it's such a great organization and a great brotherhood to be a part of.
Thank you, Garrett. And just connecting that to our original word of the day, community. That's what DMLA is. DMLA is a family. DMLA is a community. Garrett came up with that word for today. And that is exactly what we are, but we need to start acting like it, because if you have, think about your family, your extended family. How often do you see your cousins or not? Usually the most cohesive family, the one that does things together, the one that's most happy, are the ones who actually do things together, who connect with their brothers and their sisters and their parents and their cousins and their uncles. My family is very separate, but my family here in my household are extremely close, and that's like a chapter being extremely close. That's great. But you also have to reach out to your brothers in other chapters, because if we're not acting like a family, then why do we call ourselves a brotherhood? We really need to work on that. So thank you guys, and thank you for watching. This has been a second episode of At the End of the Day, so please share it with your friends, like it, +1 it, share it, everything you can do to support us, and thank you for watching.